Sometimes that is better.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Killjoy Jake podcast. I am joined today by the absolutely wonderful Sarah. How you doing, Sarah?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So excited to talk about creature features today. Thanks for bringing this up. This is like one of my favorite topics. I feel a little spoiled. I'm not going to lie. So very excited to get into this. Starting this off, I want to talk about like what exactly makes a creature feature in your mind, because I feel like this is something that's an arguable topic.
Yeah, it definitely is different for everybody because like you look at the list of like, best creature features and it covers everything from like dinosaurs to zombies, but like I don't consider all of those creatures. It's kind of like a sliding scale. Like for me, it's like you need to be more than an animal, so you can't really be like Jaws or Cujo, but you can't go all the way as far as like a demon or an entity because they're not like a creature either. But there's this gray area also in the middle where it's like, are aliens creatures? Because I think some of them are. Like, I would consider Alien a creature. I would consider The Thing a creature. And you can also go into like monster territory. Like Cloverfield is my favorite monster creature, but I wouldn't consider like a vampire a creature. So they have to be in that weird space of like almost animal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I also feel like there's a certain tone about creature features that makes them stand apart from like a gothic style vampire movie or like Romero toxic zombies. They're just different vibes overall. Like they're similar, but they're not exactly 100% the same. And I do agree with you about like it can't just be an animal. You know what I mean? Like an alligator, for instance, it's like it's just a gigantic fucking alligator. There's something about it that makes it stand apart from its normal counterpart, essentially.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, hell yeah. So let's get into some of our favorite creature features. Now, Sarah, what's your favorite? What's your favorite feature with creatures in it?
It's Cloverfield.
Yes, great choice.
I love it. I love found footage. Not all of it works. I think this one is like executed perfectly. I loved the marketing for it. It was very like a Blair Witch-esque. Like I remember you just saw trailers. It was just like that scene after the party when something's falling from the sky. Buildings are crashing, the Statue of Liberty head like rolls out, and then it just said a date. And then after a while, it just started saying the name Cloverfield. But like we had no idea what Cloverfield meant or was. And it was like 2008, I'm pretty sure. I think it was like when I was in grade 12. It was my last year of high school. We weren't like really Googling stuff. So it was still like fun. And like people were talking about it. It was like all word of mouth. And the movie was just great. It was like the perfect balance of waiting to actually see him, like it was like the build up and then seeing him and it actually like paid off. Plus, let's not mention he had bonus creatures because he had things falling off of him which were also terrifying. I probably watch the movie once a year. I used to watch it a lot more, but it just is like it's like comforting. I can't explain it. It's in my top 10 favorite movies ever.
Oh, hell yeah. I love Cloverfield. Like it scared the hell out of me when I was younger. I remember seeing the previews. I want to say this was before Transformers, but I feel like that's too far into 2007. I can't remember specifically, but something during that year, seeing that trailer, I was so hooked. I'm like, what is this? I think I discovered it like a year after its release. And yeah, just it terrified me. Immediately when you get to see like glimpses of the giant monster, then they're in the sewers, they're getting attacked by the little spider things that are coming off of it. It's such a inventive idea utilizing like a kaiju-sized monster like that in so many different creative facets, like with the little things, with it like knocking down the helicopter at the one point. I love it. Like it has so many super creative ideas that are thrown in there against an absolutely excellent cast like Lizzie Kaplan,
Yes.
TJ Miller, so many great people in this one.
Yes, and I was like genuinely invested in the characters. Like Mike Vogel, I just love him from other things, but when he got swiped off that bridge, I was there just screaming, Jason! Like I saw it in theaters also, by the way.
Oh,
And
nice.
it was pretty close to opening, and the only reason I remember that is because I was like pretty close to the front. So it was just huge. It was on the screen. I felt like that meme of Willem Dafoe from Lighthouse, just like staring up at this kaiju. And I love it.
Not yeah, no, it's phenomenal, and I think it's so scary also because of the found footage and the way it's utilized. Like you said earlier, not all found footage works, but when it's done right, like Cloverfield, like that's one of the best examples, like an easy top 10 I think for the subgenre. It's so scary. Like it's even scarier than just a typical film because you're put in the driver's seat and you're forced to be there. That's the best kind of found footage in my opinion. And that movie does it so well.
100%. And I find it very similar to it's like 29 or 2010 or 2009. It's Poseidon, like the remake with Josh Lucas.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
structured very similarly, and I kind of describe it as it's almost like a video game because like we are just going through stages. It's like level 1, get out of the party. Level 2, get through the subway. Like level 3, get to the chopper. Like it's just you do it in stages, and it's just I don't know. It's just great.
And like you said about the characters too, that's such a crucial element to Cloverfield as well. If I didn't care for the characters, I mean, I would still like the movie because I think it has a lot of creative outlooks on like the disease that the monsters like when they bite you or whatever, your head explodes. Like that was
Explode.
like what a scary reveal, It was like, oh my god, like this thing is gonna fuck up the whole world.
Yes.
But beyond that, you also really feel bad for this character. Like I believe it's Lizzie Kaplan whose head explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gets bit, her head explodes. It's like so upsetting. You got that emotional scene with her at the very beginning of like the subway sequence, and that's how it, that's the result of it. It's upsetting. And it's emotionally effective, it's visually effective. But like the storyline is also incredible too. That's not the most important thing when it comes to a creature feature, but when you can add those really well done creative writing elements to just anything in general, it always elevates it.
Yes. And the way they like finally showed you him, it was so well done because it starts from you don't see anything. It's like explosions, and then you get these like little hints of what it might be. Like after like the main building collapses and Statue of Liberty head rolls out and everybody's like covered in the dusk. They go find her, Marlena, and they're like what happened? And she was just like, it's eating people. So you're like, okay, it's big. Like, and it's just you find these like little nuggets, and then like you eventually see it on TV when you're in the electronics store that it's like massive, and it's terrifying. Like the whole subway tunnel scene is terrifying.
And its size is something that they utilize to its advantage on top of like what time it is in day. Like the darker it is in that film, the less you see of the monster. But as the sun starts to rise, you see more and more and more of it leading up to the third act when everyone starts to literally get eaten. Like the guy who's holding the camera the whole time gets just attacked and ripped to shreds. It's great. I don't know. It's a phenomenal movie, and I totally see why it's your favorite creature feature.
Love it.
Oh, absolutely.
How about you? What's yours?
Oh my god. I mean, I have so many. It's
Creature
so hard
from
to
the Black
say.
Lagoon, maybe?
I love Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's one of my favorite old movies for sure. I think The Fly maybe is my favorite creature feature though. And there's the thing right there. Getting back to that gray area with this subgenre, does that count? Because this is a guy at the beginning of the movie that slowly transforms into this horrible, awful monster by the time we get into the third act. I call it a creature feature because it still is like a mutated fly mixed with a human being. So like to me, I feel like it fits that category. What's your take on that though?
Oh, I agree. I actually saw The Fly on your recommendation for the first time like 3 days ago. I saw the Jeff Goldblum one.
Yes. The original's good too, but that one's the best.
It's horrifying. And that was actually on my like list of like I called them like the hybrids because I was like, I consider that a creature. I consider the creatures in the movie The Cave. I don't know if you've seen it. It's kind of like Descent, but they like get infected and they slowly morph into the creature by the end of it. He like sprouts wings. So I consider those creatures.
And it's body horror too, and like who's gonna get upset about that? Like that it's awful.
A little bit.
Well, yes, but in a good way. It's like, oh, this is horrifying. It's super effective, and that's kind of what we want from creature features. I think in a lot of ways, at least, we want them to be gross. They're scarier that way. I think, especially like The Fly is a prime example, as well as that one. The Descent, though, you mentioned that. I think that's a creature feature. I think that counts.
Oh, they count. Something has happened to them. They've turned into what they are, and they're now no longer human. So I would say they're creatures, and they're also terrifying.
See, getting down to this, I feel like part of what my mental image of a creature feature is like, because I don't consider zombies in that same realm. I think it's because we're so familiar with the concept. If we're watching a zombie movie, we know that, it's if someone gets bit, they're going to turn into a zombie. We got to, oh shit, we got to kill them, shoot them in the head. You know all those rules going into it. But something like The Descent, you're not 100% sure on the creature's motive or its powers or like what it's able to do that makes it so stand out and, well, fucking scary. I think that's kind of a crucial element to it, is that unknown element to these fucked up things that you're fighting.
Yeah, I think another thing that like differentiates a creature from just like something else is that a creature doesn't span different franchises. Like it's unique to its own movie. Like you have tons of different zombie franchises, vampire franchises, werewolf franchises, but like the creeper is only in Jeepers Creepers. Like he you can't put him anywhere else. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a creature feature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the creeper has a certain set of rules and powers that he's able to abide by, and you have to kind of find ways like around that, or like if he loses an arm or a head, for instance, he can just like rip it off of somebody else and put it on himself. So yeah, I know, I totally agree. I think that falls under that realm where like zombies, not so much, because we're already familiar with it. We know exactly what to expect from it. And I've seen a lot of modern day zombie movies where it's like the characters themselves even know how to handle the situation because it's such a familiar concept.
Exactly.
Yeah, hell yeah. Very good stuff. Something else, I wanted to harp on a couple, like maybe The Fly again. Alligator is one that is also up there for me. I don't know if you've ever seen this one.
Once, but like a long time ago, but I know of it.
See, this is one where it's just a simple, straightforward creature, where it's like, it's just a gigantic alligator that, kind of rolled around in some goo or whatever. But there's something about it that I think is just so much fun. Like, it is a goofy movie at the end of the day, but like it has some sequences that are so explosive, you can't stop watching. You're kind of on the edge of your seat for that reason. He comes out of a sewer grate at one point and starts eating a bunch of kids. And you're like, this is horrifying, but it's also so ludicrous and over the top.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's my draw to creature features, is because we can enter realms of cinema that feel so beyond reality, and it's so fucked up because of the situation that's been presented by the creature.
Yeah. So if you're considering alligator a creature, how do you feel about like tremors and eight-legged freaks? Would they be creatures too? Because they're kind of the same thing. They're just like these massive mutated versions of an animal.
I would say so. I think like animals or like animal monsters fall into that category. It's like, once again, as long as it doesn't abide by the zombie rule. Like, I wouldn't say like a zombie shark movie is a creature feature, you know? But I would say that Tremors is. Like, that it's a very distinct difference, but like I feel like it's relevant. I feel like mentally that's what I'm thinking about when I see zombie shark movie, Jaws. You know what I mean? Like, those two things are different in my brain.
Yeah, and like if we're comparing, like I consider Alien a creature because it's more animal, but I would consider like the aliens from like Splice, like aliens. Same with
Okay.
The Faculty. I kind of consider that more of like an alien, but the Thing is creature to me.
Yeah, and I feel like part of that is like the thing from The Thing is like, this is a made up idea. Like, this is something that's like, what the fuck are we getting into? You know, it's that element once again that's harped on throughout the whole film. We have characters who have no idea what the fuck they're dealing with, and they're slowly figuring out throughout the runtime. That's an important element to the story and the creature itself.
Yeah.
And I love that about the xenomorphs as well, because they're created by an alien race. You know, they're like the perfect being, as we learned in some of the prequel movies. So 100%. I would classify that under that, but something like Signs or, like Fire in the Sky, alien movies, that's an alien movie at the end of the day. Is there anything else that you wanted to throw out there? Because I have like 100 other creature features I could I could bring up.
I love Imhotep from The Mummy. I think his design is so perfect, and like all of the stages of it, from like gooey, twisted mummy in the sarcophagus through him like consuming like the body parts and becoming more whole, but he's like missing half of his face, and all the way up until almost he's fully human. Like, I think he looks cool, and it doesn't take too much like CGI. Like, I watched like a documentary on how they like made him, and a lot of it is like practical modeling. So when you watch it now, it holds up. Like, it doesn't look like The Rock looked in Scorpion King. Like, he still looks like creepy, and he just, I don't know. I've always liked the design of him.
And see, even though those movies like share kind of more of like a, I don't want to say like a lighter tone, but they're definitely a little more like family
Kind of
action adventure.
comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, but even then I would still consider it a creature feature because it still has all those elements present, and you get to see this thing that was human once that slowly, starts to regain its form. Yeah, no, that totally classifies. I love those movies, by the way. Brendan Fraser is just like has my whole heart.
I have like the box set, and I'll like whip it out once a year, and like both of my parents love it. So like if I'm ever at like one of their places and it's on TV, I'm like, "Oh, let's watch The Mummy Returns for the 1800th time." And it's great every time.
Oh, I love them all too. Like I don't care. Like even the third one with like Jet Li or whatever. It's fun. I don't care. But oh sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I get all
No,
excited
I
about the
was
Mummy
just
movies.
like giggling thinking about the Yetis in that one, but I still watched it.
Why have we never gotten a requel to that, especially with how popular Brendan Fraser is nowadays?
And he's so open to doing it. I'm like, take my money, put your little khaki pants on, and kill some mummies.
Don't give us Tom Cruise trying to do some universe builder or whatever. I want Brendan Fraser.
I was so sad about that.
Right? Like,
I was
wasn't that
like-
such a disappointment?
I was like, this is spooky Mission Impossible. Like, I don't need this. I need Brendan Fraser. I need sand. I need Oded Fair in the desert. I'm actually meeting him in October. Side note.
What?
He's we have a thing here called HalCon. It's essentially my city's version of like Comic-Con, but there are like some like horror people that go, and he was Carlos in Resident Evil as well. So
nice.
immediately when he was announced, I bought tickets because I'm like, that man is my childhood. Also, creatures, Resident Evil, I would consider Nemesis a creature. I wouldn't consider
Oh, yeah.
the zombies a creature. And Nemesis is, now that I thought of him, he's probably in my top 3. Like, I was gooped, gagged, befuddled when I found out he was Matt. Because I hadn't played the games, like I didn't really know. I saw the first one, I liked it. I saw the second one, it blew my mind. But like, he's so cool looking. He's like virtually indestructible. He was a human, and now he's something more.
Well, see, Resident Evil, I feel like falls in that gray area once again, where it's like, well, yeah, they have zombies, but they also have like, the lickers or whatever, which is like the frogs that have like evolved, and they have like the long tongues and shit. It's like, yeah, that's a creature in my opinion. Yeah. Same with Nemesis, who is like the most underrated creature slasher whatever of all time. Like, why they have never made a movie with that style of a killer that's like indestructible, wearing like all the fucking billboard. What is that called? Billboard vinyl or whatever wrapped all around him and shit. It looks like garbage bags, and he's like just trying to kill you. There's stars and all that. It's creepy. I love it.
But he has like the wherewithal to carry and operate a rocket launcher. He's great. And like, honestly, we can just start a hashtag justice for Nemesis, because Resident Evil 2 just does not get the love it deserves.
No, it does not. I love that movie, like, with my whole heart and soul. You know what? Honestly, I really love all those Resident Evil movies, as dumb as they are. They're just so much fun.
Final chapter was a little rough, but as a whole series, I can get behind it.
Like the first 3 movies, I'm really into. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like those are okay. These are really fun, and they feature a lot of characters from the games as well, which I grew up playing all of them. Like, especially those first 3. That is weird. I love the first 3 movies and the original first 3 games. But yes, I love that we get to see Nemesis like in Raccoon City. I love the desert setting of the third one too. And that first movie, I think, is just like, that's probably the best one, even though Apocalypse is, in my heart, it's the best one.
I kind of liken them to Final Destination 1 and 2, because I'm like, objectively, Final Destination 1 is probably better, but I just have more fun with 2. And that's like how I feel about the first 2 Resident Evils.
I feel like an opening scene is so important with like a movie, and I love the opening scene of 2 even more than 1.
Where she's pulling out her, is that the opening where she's like pulling out all the tubes and she's like in her little amniotic?
No, the opening of 2 is the one on the highway with like the log goes through the cop car and like destroys the guy's head and all that.
Yes, I thought we were talking about Resident Evil again. Yes.
Oh,
yeah. 2 is iconic with the pile up, the highway to hell. I love it. That's why I don't drive behind log trucks anymore. I'll pass them.
I drove behind a car today with vats of acid, like in the back. Like it was a big truck, and I'm just like, This is some Final Destination 6 shit. I got to get Guy Busick on the phone like right now.
Yeah. I'd be taking the next exit.
Yeah, I'd be like, nope, going a different way. Screw that.
No, every time I see something that's like remotely akin to like anything I've seen in a Final Destination, I'm just like, I have a lot to live for, and I'll just go the other way.
I don't want to log in the face today. I'm all good on that.
No, I really would not like to just be impaled, like ever.
Right. That would really suck. Speaking of acid and, well, toxic goo in general, this seems to be a massive theme revolving around creature features. Have you ever seen The Toxic Avenger?
I haven't. I've heard so many people talk about it. It just like never came up on my list. Judging by your reaction, I probably should see it.
It's one of those movies that I feel like is very divisive. Definitely a creature feature, though. At least I think. It's tough because the tone is very wacky and like just really out there, silly, cartoonish, but it deals with very dark themes. Like in the first 20 minutes of the movie, a kid gets his head run over by a car, but it's like cartoonish and wacky and it's like super silly. So it's weird. It's an acquired taste. I equate it to like it's the Primus of movies, trauma.
I'll give it a watch. I liked The Fly. That was a good recommendation. So I also liked Happy Death Day. That was a good recommendation. So I feel like you wouldn't steer me wrong.
No, I hope not, at least. I'm glad you like The Fly, though. Another big thing about that movie that I think is so important is like there's this romance angle between your two lead characters, and that just makes it all the more tragic at the end.
You know what it kind of reminded me of in a weird way was District 9. Because
Yes.
I felt like him at the end with his like claw, and he was like missing his like lady, and I was just like, oh god, this is too sad for me. Because it's like it's a person that this thing happened to.
Right. And even though, like body horror and the unknown of like aspects to a creature, sometimes even changing into one, that's always such a big facet in creature features. One of my favorite things is when you can add that element of tragedy to it. And I think both of those movies we're talking about do that so well. It's heartbreaking at the end of both of those movies. Like, if it's Brundlefly putting the gun up against his head, or if it's, the claw and he's like escaping on the spaceship or whatever. It's, oh God, it's just upsetting.
Yeah, and this is horror adjacent, but it was a show. It was a DC show. It was Swamp Thing.
Oh yeah.
It was the same thing. Like this thing happened to him, and he was like turned into this, and then at the end you find out that he was like dead the whole time, and these plants just like thought they were a human, and I'm like, why do I feel bad for plants? It's like because they thought they were a man, and I was like, that's like it was a good show. That's what makes like a good character.
Well, and with Swamp Thing and The Fly, or even like Mr. Freeze, something like that. Like these are all creatures in my mind. There is that sentient aspect to them as well, which makes you feel bad for them, even though it's just a bunch of weeds. And I love that creature features can elicit those emotions despite how ridiculous the concept is. I think that's why I've always been drawn to them, because it's like, here's the most absurd shit ever, and we're gonna like just pump humanity into it.
I like them because I knew they were always going to be unique. Like I said earlier, like zombies cross franchises, like you have to create a unique creature if you're going to make a creature feature that isn't part of like an established franchise. So I'm always like interested to see the creatures, because you start to see like similarities. Like I saw a lot of similarities between like the Cloverfield like kaiju, and then like some of the Stranger Things like monsters, like the Mind Flayer, like the legs, like, and then you start to see how people like develop creature like anatomy, like the back legs a lot of the time look like dog legs, and you can kind of start to see how like they build creatures. And then it's even better if you get like the behind the scenes. And I don't know, I appreciate a practical creature.
I totally agree, because going into the design phase of something, like, sure, you can do it digitally, but there's something just more real about when you're able to do it practically. Like, I look at The Thing, for example. Like, it's so much more upsetting. It's so much more alien because they use, like, green blood. Like, there's all these random organs that are, and like, things flopping out of them where you're like, what even is that? This is so beyond my understanding. I can't even tell what's going on right now. That's such a scary element to add to your creature that I feel like that movie, I'm trying to think of more things like Dead Space. I think is
Yeah.
another good, like, it's a video game, but still the kind of the same element where you're like, I just don't, this anatomy is so beyond what my understanding is of just like the human body. This is so fucking scary.
Yeah. And some of the creatures, I know it's like not a popular movie, but Doom with The Rock and Carl Urban, like some of them are not zombies, some of them are creatures. There was a movie that I wasn't like particularly fond of. It was called Annihilation, but it had cool creatures.
It did. That's a experimental movie to the max.
Yeah.
It definitely not for everybody. I thought it was pretty cool though. I love that shit.
I have a simple brain, and sometimes those things just go over my head.
Alex Garland's movies are, yeah, just sometimes overly complicated for I don't want to say for no reason, but like Men, for instance, I feel like was just way too overly complicated. But is that a creature at the end of that movie? I'm not 100%. That's another thing that I'm not 100% on, because that's trying to show the overall concept of what the movie's about through the lens of this fucked up thing that just keeps happening, which I feel like if I get into is just going to make people vomit. Yeah, it's upsetting. So like, does that count as a creature? You know, just because there's killer practical effects in there, even though if you look at the thing just from an unbiased standpoint, it's an allegory. Like I don't know if that classifies.
Not in my books, but I also wasn't really a fan of that movie.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, the other thing about creatures is this is where like it blurs the line. It's like I feel like a creature has to be like a tangible thing that could exist in my world right now, which is why I discount a lot of like paranormal things. Like, because people will throw around like creature and demon as like the same thing, but I'm like, not usually, not always. We got into a lot of those kind of tropes in, again, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think I brought this up on our last podcast because it's my favorite show. But they called them all demons, but they were really monsters. So like I would consider those creatures. But like we get into things like Pazuzu, like that's, it's not a creature.
Right,
But,
or like, oh, sorry, keep going.
no, I was just saying like creatures can have like supernatural traits, but I just don't think that they can be supernatural. Like it has to be something I could stumble upon in a swamp or the woods.
Yes, I'm with you there, because I look at the Insidious franchise, like killer creature designs across the board for the most part, but I would never consider these things like creatures. Most of them were people at one point too, like the man who can't breathe, the lipstick demon and all that. These are all former people. These are just like the souls of them in another dimension. So I don't know if I would count that necessarily, even though you do have that level of the unknown with them, and at the same time they have these creepy practical designs. I still don't think it qualifies though, because you don't have that element. It's very specific.
Another great thing that I would consider a creature feature, even though it has some of the things that we were just talking about that I wouldn't consider a creature, is Cabin in the Woods. Because you have so many different kinds of things. Half of those things were creatures.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, like I think, like, I'm trying to think like some of the weirder creatures in there. Like
The
they had the
merman.
giant snake. Yeah, yes, exactly. Because of how many things that movie specifically touches on, it's like, yeah, okay, that's a creature feature. It's also a slasher. It's also, an Evil Dead movie. I think it's got all those elements to it, but that's a very rare outlier.
I would love for you to do a bracket stream purely based on Cabin in the Wood creatures. Just do
Oh,
a battle royale of the creatures.
okay. That would. I don't even know which one I would want to win. Like, what would be my first seed? The Merman's up
The
there.
merman is up there.
Yeah. I mean, that's so funny. It's only one scene, but it's a super memorable kill. Like, you're not going to forget that leaving the theater.
And it was set up so perfectly. He wanted to see it, and then he did.
And it killed him. It's poetic.
But
And I
those are...
love
No, go ahead.
I love the blowhole too. Like, that's a creature to me. You know what I mean? Because it's like it kills you in a very specific way. It's like hard to understand. I don't know. And it's fucking scary. So I consider that a creature personally.
Yeah. That's kind of what I had for my list. But I know that you said that you had a bunch. So I'm interested to hear what your like favorite features are.
Oh God, I mean, there's so like it's one of those things where I have so many bouncing around my brain, I can't just choose one. But I love like yeah, like The Fly's always been a standout. Alligators up there. I love Eight-Legged Freaks was actually one I did want to bring up. I know you said that
Yeah.
earlier, but I love that movie so much. I just watched about like the first half of it maybe the other day. It was my first movie that I ever saw with David Arquette, and he's amazing in it.
So
He's so
good.
good as the lead. But it's just digital giant spiders running around, which I know some people might see and be like, I don't know, I've seen this before. But it's got this like throwback 50s feel, made in the thousands. And it makes it so unique, I think, for that reason, to recapture that energy from 50 years before the movie was even made.
Oh, for sure. It's so good. It's also that like perfect mix of like it is terrifying. They're massive spiders, but it's so fun. It's like Tremors.
Yeah, it's like a Tremors or a Ghostbusters or like Ivan Reitman like feel to it because it's so fun and silly. But at the same time, watching the girl or whatever get wrapped up in the spider webs, there's something
Oof,
horrifying about that.
terrifying.
And because the spiders are gigantic now, they eat people. Like they're a little easier to understand, but they're not just spiders. I think that's the big thing. That you have to consider there. It's like that's a creature feature. There's spiders that want to eat people. They're different from spiders. The differentiation is made.
Yeah.
And the toxic goo, I love toxic goo. I can't get enough of it. I love movies with it. It's always scary and gross. Always makes my day.
No, I will have to watch that though. The Toxic Avenger.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, that it's a fun one. It's like I said, maybe kind of an acquired taste, but worth a watch at the very least.
Cool.
So, Sarah, what else do you got on your list?
Ooh, let's see here. I have an asterisk next to cave movies. So like The Cave is great. I really, really liked that. And it's like not super popular because a lot of people will immediately think of The Descent. Because like The Descent is great and The Descent Part 2 is almost just as good. But I liked The Cave. Like it had a cool cast for the time it came out. It's like Eddie Sabin or whatever, you know who I mean, Eddie. And then the guy who was in Riddick, he played John.
Ooh, okay.
He was in it. And it was just like it was like a good early 2000s cast. And it's like I genuinely liked them and like I wanted them to get out of the cave.
Yes, yeah.
And it was you didn't see the creature until almost the end. So it's like it just played into like the claustrophobia aspect, except you knew something was like hunting you. And then you found out that, oh, like you can actually get infected and turn into one of these things. And then the end was kind of like the larger battle where you saw the creatures. They're horrifying. They can also fly. And it's I don't know if you've seen it recently, but
It's been a while, unfortunately, but I'm familiar with it.
yeah, in the end, they get out of the cave, but they're infected. So now these creatures are just loose in the world. And like they set it up for a sequel, but it never happened.
Oh, that's a shame. The one thing that's the one thing I do remember about it. It's like the ending shot is the girl, and you kind of like get the reveal she's infected or whatever, and then isn't she like walking into the crowd
Yeah,
of
like the
people?
sunglasses, and she walks into the crowd.
And that's like, oh no way! Like it's a great twist. But another thing you just touched on that I want to add to my repertoire of things that creature features do so well is not showing your creature until the end of the movie. Like Jaws is a great example. That's a great example. That's so important because I think it makes it scarier to just get little glimpses. Like you get to see like parts of the fin or whatever eating Alex Kittner in Jaws, and then you finally get the reveal like 40 minutes later or whatever into the movie. That's scary. It's like what how big is this thing? What does this thing even look like? You don't get those answers until later on. It keeps you on the edge of your seat for that reason.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the problems I had with the movie The Boogeyman. You knew what it looked like pretty much right away. And you're like, oh, just looks like something from Stranger Things. And then you saw it basically the whole time. And you're like, I'm not scared of this thing. So now, like, the mood of the movie is broken. Like, if you would have just held off until the end, it would have been so much more effective.
I totally agree. I look at something like Insidious too, which not necessarily a creature feature, but does the same element where it's like you just see glimpses of it the whole time, and it makes you want to know more. Like I need to finish this movie now because I got to see what the damn thing looks like. You know, that's it's another you got to keep adding reasons to the list of why the audience needs to get to the end of your film, because I've seen so many movies where I'm like, I know exactly how this is going to wrap up, and it's the same thing in my head. I shouldn't be writing a better movie up here than what I'm watching on screen. And sometimes creature features forget to do things like that.
100%. There was another one that came to mind while you were talking and I lost it. I'm sure it will come back to me.
That's okay. I think we're both a little tired, but we're gonna march through this, Sarah. We're getting this creature feature podcast. Look at that cup of coffee and everything. There you go.
But no, I think they're so fun. At the end of the day, like, they can be super scary, but you're always going to have fun with a creature, which is not necessarily the same as like a ghost or a demon or like a vampire or something like that. You can guarantee to have fun with a creature.
Yeah, 100%. I look at something like, some of the Paranormal Activity sequels, especially Ghost Dimension, where you're like, you actually see the monster the whole time. And it's like, this isn't fun. I know exactly what I'm getting into. You got to have that level of intrigue and mystery and the fun as well. Because I've like the movie Rogue, I think, for instance. I don't know if you've ever seen this one.
Oh, yes, actually, yeah.
I love this. It's dark, but it's fun because it has that adventure feel to it, and then it's also got like this badass fight, like at the end of the movie with, it's a digital crocodile or whatever, but it's the best digital crocodile movie in my opinion. I love it. I think it's so underrated.
I forgot about that one because I tried to not put like too many like animal ones on my list because I could talk about like Jaws or like Placid or Anaconda for a while, but I was really trying to think of like, what's a real creature? I was using the creeper as my like baseline and like building out from there. Because then there's like the whole subsection of like, do we consider werewolves creatures? Because they fit the criteria of like a human turning into something, but again, they like cross franchises. Because I was thinking about talking about like Ginger Snaps, because that's like a pretty cool movie, or specifically American Werewolf in London, just for the creature design and like the practical effects.
See, like I think when you're able to do a werewolf or something familiar like that and spin it in a new way, like I think that movie, for instance, you finally get to see someone like changing into a werewolf, like the guy's mouth like extends like that, or VHS 94, where they have vampires at the end of the film, but if they get exposed to sunlight, they explode. They don't just burst into flames. There's okay. That's a different element to it. You're spinning it down a different path. I feel like that kind of reclassifies it. And maybe I'm just overthinking the hell out of this, but I feel like that works. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I kind of agree because I was struggling with the whole vampire idea because sometimes you have a vampire that's more like a feral animal than a person, and I would consider those more of a creature. Like, I guess Dracula in Voyage of the Demeter is more creature-like versus, the vampires from Twilight, or like the ones that are like super savage from 30 Days of Night. Like, they're more creature-esque. Like, the ones that just are more animalistic to me always come off more creature-like.
Yeah, because like I look at something like The Lost Boys, and I'm like, that is absolutely not a creature feature, but something that deals in kind of the same subgenre, like The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Yeah, that's totally a creature feature.
I think if you can turn into a bat, you're a creature.
Yeah, if you have like some crazy mystical powers that are unexplainable, yeah, okay, that classifies. I think. Come on. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it just depends on the way that you're framing the monster. If it's just same old gothic vampire, like, Interview with the Vampire, Lost Boys, Twilight, that's not it. But if you take it down a different route, if you do something else with it, like I would even say like Running Zombies when they first came out, sure, that could have been a creature, but now everyone does that. Ever since 28 Days Later came out, that just broke the mold. Now every zombie movie is running zombies.
They're all fast now. There's no more shambling. They're so quick.
And I miss it. I miss my slow zombies. Like there's something, a different type of horror that comes from that versus something that's running at you.
Yeah, I will say the first watch of World War Z, I really did like how they had them and they just were so like reckless with their own bodies. Like when they're climbing up the wall and they're climbing over each other and it's you know what I'm talking about. Like
Yes.
that was cool. That was new. I hadn't seen them do that before. Usually you see them, shambling up and just like shaking a chain link fence. But these ones were just like using their bodies and they were the same as the ones in Train to Busan. It was just like a horde.
Right, they were like crawling over each other to get
Mhm.
to you, and there is something really scary about that. I'm not in no way am I saying that fast zombies aren't scary, but I
Mhm.
think it's just two different types of things. Like those are like, oh my god, jump out of your seat, scary.
Mhm.
But slow zombies are creepy. Like it has a creepiness that I think the fast ones don't. Sorry, I don't mean to shift the topic of conversation. I love zombies too. I love creatures. I love zombies.
For sure. But like you said, the thing is, it's like they're all fast now. So they're all kind of the same.
I think when we stop spinning things in new ways, especially with creatures, that's when we start to lose that. That's when we get into familiar territory and then it's a trope.
Hmm.
And we start to lose these fun aspects to creatures. Because I want to deal with new rules to fuck around with. Something that's just so like, oh my god, them, I think is is it them or fuck, I can't remember. There's a thousands movies that I can't remember the name of, but it's like it's a one word title like that. It's like from or them or something like that. That I just think is so fucking scary. It's got a bunch of like creatures outside of a bar or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? I feel
I
like
don't know.
it's like all these people, like patrons at a bar, and they're all like surrounded by creatures outside, and they got to like fight them, and they all get like attacked and killed and shit.
This sounds familiar, but that is also the plot to like a lot of movies.
It is, yeah.
I immediately went to the Winchester and Shaun of the Dead. There's like, yeah, there's another one where they're trapped in like the basement of the bar and it's like the same thing. But no, I like those movies.
How do you feel about World's End being a creature feature?
Ooh, I
That's a
haven't thought
maybe.
of that is a maybe. That's a weird gray area. I haven't really thought about that movie in a while.
Oh yeah, I just went through the Cornetto trilogy again, like World's End, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and all that. I love them all. They're all so much fun. But the blanks in that movie, I'm like, they're kind of creatures, especially with how they act like at the end, like they all kind of wake up again and just start living in that apocalypse.
That is true. To be fair, that is the one that I watched the least.
Fair.
I really like Shaun of the Dead is probably my go-to, but I've been in kind of a Hot Fuzz kick lately. But the third one is not my most
Eh,
rewatched. But no, I would say yes.
Yeah, okay. Hell yeah. Yeah. Now, the VHS franchise is also known for a lot of creatures. Do you like any of those movies?
I'm really not like familiar with them. I have given them all a watch, but I don't rewatch them like enough to have an opinion. But I know that there definitely are things that classify as creatures in there. I wouldn't know where to start. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. Ratma is probably the most popular one. Like
Yeah.
that's one that I get all excited when I hear or talk about giant rats. So got to bring that up. But I feel like that totally classifies, even though you can argue that's a cult. It's a cult surrounding this thing too, but it's like it has this aura about it. Like it makes followers, with its like black spit or whatever. It's like, ooh, there's something fucked up about that.
You do like
it's out there.
goo. You like a lot of goo.
I'm a big fan of goo.
You're a big goo guy.
A big goo guy. That's what they call me around here. But other creature features, like I'm trying to think of more things that don't classify with animals. You know what I mean? I can think of so many like crocodile alligator movies or whatever. Like off the top of my head, the other ones, it's tough to say. Do you have anything else like on your list that you want to throw out there, Sarah?
Ooh. No, we literally hit all of them in our first like 15 minutes. It was fantastic. I was like, oh my God, I don't even have to refer to my notes.
Well, hell yeah. All right. Well, Sarah, is there any final thoughts then do you want to throw at the creature feature talk? Anything else you want to throw out there that you feel like is so necessary to get out on this topic?
We kind of briefly touched on it earlier, but I just want them to get back into just not showing us the creature right away. Like, I need the suspense. Like, I know you spent a lot of money on your CG like monster and you want to like show him to the world he's your baby, you're proud of him, but like I don't need to see him. Like what I'm thinking he looks like is going to be scarier than what you show me. So just like hold off till the end, build the tension. Like I love seeing somebody get snatched into the darkness. Like I don't need to see your creature eat this person until the end of the movie, you know? So
Yeah,
just bring
yes.
the suspense and like the creepiness back to creature features.
I totally agree. Bring that back where you don't show the creature as much because, like, yeah, thinking about Boogeyman from earlier than in the year, it just the whole time you see this digital monster, and it's like I don't care. Like, cool, okay, whatever. You made a Stranger Things monster. I want the build up because I feel like it would have been scarier if we had just seen it in the third act and just little glimpses of it throughout. The other thing I want to add to that is what happened to practical creatures? Why don't we do that anymore? Why do we think that doing a digital thing like that looks better than having a guy in a suit? I miss those days. I think that looks way scarier all day, every day.
I think the only time you really need to bring in CG is for like really unnatural like movement and speed. But like if he's just lurking around, you can make a way better practical creature.
Right. And I think, like, say what you will about VHS. I know I'm crazy about them, though, because I love that they almost always use practical effects for their creatures. The stories aren't much to write home about, but it's so refreshing to see that in modern day cinema, where you don't see that as much. It's usually, slashers and a mask and stuff. That's always done practically. But when it comes to creatures or demons or any of these things, it's almost always digital nowadays. But what always stands the test of time, and what ends up being the cream of the crop, is when you do have a digital, or not digital, a physical creature like that in your movies. That's why I'm so attracted to those movies. That's why I love the Insidious franchise too. You always have, for the most part, a practical creature, except for here or there. It's scarier. I can look at that thing and be like, that is a physical thing that could come after me, not this video game rendered thing that's running at me in something like a Resident Evil game or whatever. Those are scary for a different reason. I want to see practical people that are fucked up running at me in a movie. I miss those days, Sarah.
Yes. No, I 100% agree. Get Doug what's his face back in the
Doug
suits.
Jones.
Get Doug Jones back in the suits. Oh my gosh, I just opened a can of worms in my head. We can talk about this on a different day, but like the movie Legion, those are all creatures.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Oh, those are creepy creatures too.
Right.
Fuck. Oh,
Basically,
the thing with the
anything
long
Doug
mouth.
Jones has worn is a creature. Doug Jones. That's what I'll leave you with: is bring more Doug Jones. Give me more Doug Jones.
Have more Doug Jones. Have more Javier Botet movies. Watch all these things. Okay. One last thing, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. Have you seen the Wreck Record movies?
Yes, not the fourth one, not the one on the boat. I've seen the rest.
Now, do you consider those creatures? Because technically they're not zombies.
They're possessed, kind of. That's that weird. I'm leaning to no. My gut instinct is no, but I could understand an argument for it.
Yeah, like, because it's like, sure, they're zombies, but there's a possession element to it. They're kind of like this mix of a bunch of different things. So I'm like, I'm not 100% sure on that one, actually. So, ooh, okay. I was thinking Javier, like, creature actors and stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So, very good stuff, Sarah. As always, we got to plug the Instagram page. Got to go follow Sarah on Instagram. What's that handle again?
It's Sarah.Campbell. So SAR.Campbell, or just search my whole name, Sarah Campbell.
Let's get Sarah to like 1 million followers on Instagram. Let's make it happen. Is that overwhelming? Should I not have said that?
That's fine. I'm just laughing at the idea that like just somebody without a YouTube channel, just a human resources professional, just has 1 million followers on Instagram.
People dig your opinion, Sarah. They want to see more. They want it all. It's awesome. Hell yeah. All right. Well, Sarah, as always, it's always a pleasure talking with you, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I had so much fun with this one.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Thank you all again for watching. As always, leave your favorite creature feature down in the comments below. We can't get to all of them. I wish we fucking could. That would be great. But leave them in the comments. And thank you all for checking out this new podcast. Thanks again for watching. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.